My name is Junsong Lee from Seoul, South Korea. This time, we are going to examine how the ethnic nationalism of the Jangon myth strengthened and developed over time in South Korea, which contributed to modernize the country and achieve true democracy. Now, let's begin.
There is no future for a 민족 who forgets history. It is a famous saying in Korea presented by Shin Chae-ho, a renowned independent activist who led the Patriotic Enlightenment movement of Korea during the Japanese colonial period. Like he said, history is extremely important to fully understand a country. By looking back in history, we can understand how past events made today's social environment and culture that varies from each country. We can also learn the current status of one country and effectively respond to its expected future. South Korea is widely known for achieving great success through rapid economic growth and social development. People normally view it as the miracle of the Han River. The logic of compressed modernity, developed by Jang Kyung-suk, a professor of sociology at Seoul National University, well explains how South Korea transformed into a modern society in a short period of time after the Korean War that broke in 1950. It typically states that unlike other countries, South Korea's modernity was necessary at the right timing, conscious, followed the Western standards, happened quickly, and created alienation. Likewise, the World Bank also gives a remarkable overview that says Korea is one of the few countries that has successfully transformed itself from a low income to a high income economy and a global leader in innovation and technology. As seen above, South Korea's achievement in modernity gives a surprise to the world since it was done in less than 50 years, while other developed nations normally took around 100 years. Then, what made South Korea transformed into a modern nation so quickly? What cultural factors lay upon Korean people when achieving such huge success in a short period? What is in the blood of Koreans that enabled them to rebuild a nation that the world praises? The answer can be found by looking into the Korean resistance history, especially focusing on the historical events of the Goguryeo, Goryeo, and Joseon dynasty. Goguryeo was a Korean kingdom during the Three Kingdoms of Korea period that lasted from the 1st century AD to the 7th century. Goguryeo rose as a great power in East Asia, but faced countless survival wars with external forces in mainland China. The Goryeo-Tang War is one typical example. In 645, Emperor Taejong of Chinese Tang attacked the Ansi fortress to conquer Goguryeo. Over 50,000 Tang forces attacked with newest weapons like catapults, pouring big stones, but the Goguryeo army and the people all together fought fiercely, risking their lives. These are the scenes of the Korean movie Ansi Fortress that was released in 2018, and it shows how hard the people of Goguryeo, despite their age, gender, and social class, got united and fought against the Tang invasion. Emperor Taejong eventually got defeated by the fierce resistance of Goguryeo and deeply regretted his invasion until death. Second, during the Goryeo dynasty, the Mongols once again invaded the Korean peninsula from 1231. The text lasted occasionally for nearly 30 years, but the united efforts and sacrifices of the Goryeo people played a significant role to continue the resistance and succeeded in protecting the country from the Mongol Empire. Lastly, the Joseon dynasty faced two Japanese invasions, and one of them is called the Imjin War in 1592. At the time, Joseon was not fully prepared and the Japanese army quickly captured the capital Hanyang, which is today's Seoul, and expanded to Pyongyang. However, the rightist army comprised of ordinary citizens called Uibyong, and the naval army rose up all over the country and defeated the Japanese once at a time. These are the scenes of the Battle of Myeongyang led by Lee Sun-shin, the renowned military general of the Joseon Navy, which was a huge success to reverse the Imjin War. Seen from these historical events in the Korean peninsula, the Korean ethnic nationalism derived from the Changun myth has strengthened over time as Korean people frequently united together, risked lives, and resisted fiercely to protect the nation against endless external invasions, especially from China and Japan. The Changun grandfather is a typical symbol and starting point of a Korean community that is connected by an identical bloodline. The Changun myth also represents unity and purity among Koreans in their own history that lasted nearly 5,000 years. This kind of ethnic nationalism is viewed as hereditary, and in Korea it developed into a particular culture of Jeong, which stands for bonds, collective efforts, and common goals. Examples of Jeong are expressed in the Korean language as we or our, which is uri in Korean. Among Koreans, each family, husband and wife are called our family, our husband, and our wife. Koreans believe they all share the same homogeneity of Jeong together. It is true that the religious belief of Confucianism from the Joseon dynasty also brought a huge impact to ethnic nationalism as it emphasized too much on interdependent identity. To achieve social balance and harmony, it suppressed Koreans to heavily live for the community, society, and the nation rather than focusing on their own identity and living. However, considering the resistance history that continued over 1,000 years, passing down from the Goguryeo, Goryeo, and Joseon dynasty, Confucianism is not the only factor that strengthened and developed the Changun myth into a collectivism form of Korean culture that still exists today. It is important to remember that Korean ancestors in history lived with strong solidarity to defend one's homeland from constant external threats in Northeast Asia. The Causes of Compressed Modernity by Professor Jang Kyung-sub, or The Miracle of the Han River of Korea's modern-day development, can be explained in the same context. Derived from the long resistance history of ancestors, most Koreans share the cultural blood of Jeong, and when the time comes to save the country, they tend to easily unite as one, under the same common goal. Even though South Korea's modernity was conscious, which was carefully crafted and planned by the former President Park Chung-hee, it was only feasible because every citizen showed collective efforts to faithfully follow the government's urbanization plan, so-called the Saemao movement in the 1970s. The Korean Journal of Local Government Studies also states the success factors of the Saemao movement as the active participation of rural residents improved the village's infrastructure, residential environment, wage income, and led to overcoming poverty. In addition, it stresses the driving force behind the Saemao movement was not political slogans but the spirit of self-help and cooperation, and residents themselves solve problems necessary for the development of the community. Eventually, the high concentration and unity among the Korean people triggered the development speed while modernizing the country, and its success only took 50 years after the Korean War. It was the power of the Daejung, the Korean people, that achieved the logic of compressed modernity. As seen from the major historical events of the Korean peninsula that lasted 5,000 years, the unity, resistance, and persistence derived from its ethnic nationalism will continue and prevail once more when it's time to save the nation. Thank you very much for listening.